Nothing like a dwarf to get you out of a tight
Okay,
spot.
hopefully this will be a dwarf matchup. I would like to see how, just so the viewers can see the experience.
Yeah, generally what I expect when I see a Brewer deck is the semi-trap build that runs like multiple they basically try to play multiple Aeromancies. They try to buff a Ciaran or a Teruvial. So we're gonna have to go into that with that idea that that's what's actually in the deck. This hand looks pretty good actually. We'd like a Necker Warrior if we can find one. Let's take a look here. Go to the right a little bit. Okay, so we're missing Golds and Necker Warriors. We can go ahead. We can pitch back at one of the two Ekamaras to blacklist it. Actually, hold on. It doesn't matter. Throw the Ghoul back, then we can blacklist that. So we have 5 guaranteed blacklists. And then throw back one of the Witchers. Okay, so we got a little bit of bad RNG here, which can happen.
Yeah, but this is good. So like, you cannot always have the upper hand.
Exactly. So we can go ahead. We can play a Necker here into Witchers, and it's a huge tempo swing on our part. That he might, if he is one of those decks that plays Ciaran, he could just play Ciaran and pass. In which case we get to take a free round, and then we get to take it to the next round with a very large board and a decent hand size as well.
And hopefully we'll get a warrior.
One very cool thing that I didn't actually know until I actually experienced it in a game is that if you play Old Spirit Tip into a row that has 2 units and they play a Ciaran face down, when the Ciaran flips, Old Spirit Tip flips before it goes back to hand and kills the Ciaran. It's one of the only cards in the game that can actually kill Ciaran and stop it from going back to hand.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you something, dude. I gotta make a video about that. Like, this is... Dude, we're gonna have to do this. Oh, dude. You opened my mind to new possibilities.
Yeah, I did it last night against Mai on the top of the ladder, and I think he was also shocked because he kind of just sat there wiggling his mic back and forth and just didn't know what to do about it. It was great.
So we go ahead and what's it called? Witchers, right?
Yeah, I Witchers here. We can depending on what he does here, we might be passing on our end just to get a card advantage. We really can't interact with his board much, unfortunately, given that he has Zoltan, and we don't really have anything on our part that can other than Old Spear Tip, which we're usually fine with. Again, not finding a Necker Warrior kind of hurts here. But one of the nice things is if we pass, we get the carry of a Witcher, we pull the 3rd Necker out of our deck, and then our first lights, which are normally dead, should be able to pull out... Ooh,
You're not talking.
he's playing that with this. Interesting. So we're going to pull out our 3rd Necker right here, and then our first light's guaranteed to pull us a Necker Warrior, a Neckamara, or a Ghoul, which we have a pretty high chance of hitting that Warrior and starting to chain our Neckers.
Okay, so right here... She just blew
Right
my mind
right
right
here,
there.
right here at actually Old Spear Tip, it's a huge board swing here. It's actually 14 points to the... Actually, it's more than that. It's 18 points to the board. So we can go ahead, we can play
Because
that.
Of the plus and the negative. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge swing here that's going to cost him multiple cards to come back from. This is part of why I love the card. I think it's a very underrated card, and it actually kind of lacked a place for a while in any monster deck. And I think this deck is the perfect spot for it. It just pulls so much weight in so many matchups. And originally, I didn't have it in my list, and neither did Gum Gum. And once I started kind of going more towards this all-in direction, I put it in and found out just how powerful the card is.
Yep.
And here I think we're fine just passing, honestly. It's going to cost him 1, maybe 2 cards to beat this. He doesn't have anything other than... He needs a Hawker Healer, basically, or one of his AoEs to bump the board. If he gets us that, we're up a card winning next round, and I think we're fine with that, actually.
Okay, so this is what we call an actual soft pass, kind of a way. But the reality of it is that if he doesn't have the right card, it's gonna take him 2. And if he does, we're still... Like, there it is.
That does tell us something interesting here, though, is that his biggest thing in his deck is a 4. So there's some things that we don't have to worry about. We don't have to worry about any Hawker Smugglers or anything like that out of his deck right now. If he has them, they're in his hand already.
Very good point. Very good observation right there.
And while he does get to carry things over, we're always guaranteed with a Dwarf deck, if we're up 1 cards, we're always guaranteed to basically be able to win a round by frosting last. And then because we are a deck that gets to carry over a lot of power, we have a lot of things that we can do with that. Basically what I mean by that is that if we want to Biting Frost and consume the buffer board, we can do that. If we want to Biting Frost and then K-Ran, we can do that. If we want to not Biting Frost and then affect his board in a different way, we can do that. So we basically just have a lot of plays we can do here that an average deck won't get to do.
So right
Now,
here, since you only have 1, let me see, what do you have left? Okay, go ahead.
So one of the cool things here, and it actually I'm glad that it came up, is that we have King of Beggars in hand. We want a Necker Warrior here before we Monster Nest. We want to get that. We want to put them back in our deck. We want to start that Train going, everything along those lines. if we first light here, we actually have an 80% chance to hit something that we want. We have 3 Necker Warriors, and if we hit the goal, that's fine by us because it's going to consume, buff our Necker, and then we're guaranteed with King of Beggars to hit our Necker Warrior.
Alright, so I like that. We're rolling the dice. Let's go.
Yeah, as long as we don't hit our Ekamara, we're great here.
Oh,
Perfect.
baby.
And now we get to do our full monster nest. We get to make that. We get to start that train going. Our King of Beggars is going to work for us hopefully next round. Where they're going to pull the goal out or a Necker Warrior if we happen to draw the goal. We're a little bit unlucky here that we have none of our golds yet, and that he's a ton of resilient strength. But we can actually make enough strength on the board that we can match his resilience. So here we're going to go ahead. We're going to throw out a monster nest and start that whole train up.
Look at that animation. I think it's the coolest one right now.
It's one that I like a lot. I think, what is my favorite one right now? It's actually a tough one. There's a lot of really cool ones. I hate Sasuke, so that thing takes forever.
No, you know what? Which one I hate right now, dude? I hate the port infantry one. Like that one. That one gives me a seizure, dude. It's like, what?
I hate Saskia and I hate Morkvarg mainly because I'm tired of hearing about how he's hungry.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's just going ahead. He's trying to buff up a board, but he can't beat us in that aspect. We have so much extra strength contained in these Neckers that he's not going to be able to actually buff a board above us. So we're fine here just going. We have a pretty good chance at hitting one of our Witchers here and just making a train go. Between both of our graveyards, there's 6 Witchers, so we have a great shot at it.
Okay, so we go first, right?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
As long as we don't hit the Necker, we're great.
Oh, there it is.
And it's like he played a 9-point. He played a very good unit there. He played 9 points that carries over 4. So it's like he played a 13 strength unit there. We played a 14 strength unit off of that. So like even with his very powerful plays, we're actually putting out more strength than he is on average with that in that case, and that's great. And again, because of the kind of a deck that we are, we're matching him pound for pound here with his cards, and we're also up 2 cards. So it's great for us.
All right, so for 1, 2, 3, that's pretty much set, and man, you have a lot of options right here.
Yeah, what I like here is we're guaranteed off of our King of Beggars to hit a goal. And again, the graveyards are so stacked right now that I think it's fine for us to do it. Again, if we hit even one of the 6 power Witchers, we're going ahead and we're doing a 17-point swing on the board.
Who do I spy?
Oh, no, I'm bad.
Oh.
I forgot. So this is actually one of the mistakes you can make with this deck, and I forgot it. Again, remember how I said earlier that Necker Warrior makes a base copy? Because we didn't wait an extra turn for that and let it pump once more than Ekamara, it's not a 5 in our deck, it's a 4, and we can screw ourselves like that. So that's actually a misplay on our part that might cost us this game. But it kind of highlights how this deck isn't quite as brain dead as people will think it is. If you miss something like that, it can cost you. Me personally, one thing I also sometimes manage to figure with King of Beggars is it can pull silvers, and Spear Tip is also a 4, which can really help you. But if you forget that's there and you want a Necker Warrior, it's kind of a bit of an oops moment.
Oh, that's a pretty good. That is something that I will do. The All Spear one, yes. On my mind, always All Spear is 8.
So now he knows that he has all the Neckers out of our deck, which normally would actually be really annoying for us. But because we have one in hand, we're not quite out of the we're not quite as ruined here as we could be otherwise. So I go ahead, we can just Catechin here. We're guaranteed to eat a 7 out of the graveyard with the Witchers. It gives us a great board presence here. If we carry that over, we're actually not that bad off because, again, we're up a card. We have Biting Frost for the front row if we want next round, and we can convert a lot of our strength to the back row with an Ekamara. And because we have a Necker in hand, we don't really care. It kind of sucks to lose our Neckers on the board, but we can still, our Monster Nest isn't dead like it could be in other cases, which is really good for us. That's one of the ways to beat this deck, actually. And see, he thinks that we have a Necker still in our deck. So he's losing 2 extra points here. He could be sinking that Thunder into a Catechin, but he can't now. So that's actually great for us. We can go ahead, we can Ekamara. I'd move it to the back row with the Catechin here. It saves us a lot of strength here, that if we want to Biting Frost next round, which we eventually do want to.
Just eat Ekamara, right?
Yeah, put it in the back row, eat the Catechin, because next round, one of our ways to win here is the Biting Frost the front row. We're going to negate that 20 points off of his Dwarven Defenders, or his Mahagam Defenders, sorry. And we're going to bump that down 16 points, and it lets us carry over those points that he can't interact with now.
I think that this is the last card, and after that he won't chase. I think that this is his last card. I don't think he will chase after that. After next.
We'll see. So it's really hard. One thing he can try to basically burn us out of cards here, but if we Ekamara eating the other Ekamara, there's a lot that he's going to be able to do about it, to be frank. And see here, he's a little bit scared also of the weather. But I think if we Ekamara eat our other Ekamara, we're in a decent spot where I wouldn't be surprised if he'll go ahead and pass on us.
And put it on the same one. It doesn't actually matter in this one.
Exactly, yeah. Now, if he's thinking here and he's thinking smart, what he can do is he can actually force us to pass here. He doesn't know what our second... He knows that we have a Necker in hand. He knows that we have Dagon access. If he wants to try to force out the Biting Frost here, he can just go ahead and play another card and try to push into us. But because of how far ahead we are, unless he has something along the lines of a Saskia, something that's going to make that huge board swing, it might be in our interest actually to try to pass in that case and basically call his bluff. So he pulls the potion. If he's smart here, he'll put it on the Yarpen. Okay, so he does put it on the Yarpen in the back. Try to carry that over. I think our best option here, as weird as it sounds, is going to be to go ahead and pass.
Yeah.
He has to have 10 points in hand. If he doesn't have it, if he doesn't have it, basically we're going to carry over such a huge advantage that it really shouldn't matter. That we're going to have a lower carryover than he does. It is a bit of a risk, but I think it's one that in this case we want to go ahead and we want to take. If we play our Frost, we lose that 20 points next round value. And if we play our Monster Nest or our other Necker, we don't have them for next round of combo together, and we basically lose our Ekamar, our 25-point investment.
I think he's gonna have because what happened is that was a potion. He's gonna we
have to. Yeah, it's one of those things that we misplayed there a little bit, and that happens sometimes. And it's one of those situations where we have to make him have it to beat us, because if he doesn't have it, we're in such a dominant position that we should be able to win round 3. And sometimes one thing that you have to recognize as a player is that you have to pass in situations and make your opponent have it. Because if they don't have it, it's the only way that you to victory sometimes, is if you go ahead and you force out the round, you really can't win it. So now we remember for the next round. Now we remember next time that we have to make sure that we count our Neca Warriors and they count for King of Beggars.
No, but this is very good. Like, usually people are like, hey man, you only show the good side. But you know, I would like to highlight the good ones. But this is an actual perfect example of how a mistake can actually cost you the game.
Exactly, and again, it's one of those things that a lot of people like to call dwarfs or deck, or even this deck. They say it's really simple, it's really brain dead, but there are some things that you have to pay attention to and remember as you go through the game. And even then, we had a terrible opening hand, we had a terrible mulligan off of it, we never saw a gold throughout the entire game, and if he didn't have that glaze there, we're still in a dominant position where we can actually win through round 2 and round 3, even with that misplay and that bad mulligan. So I think it kind of showcases just what the strength of this deck can be at times.
Definitely, and this is looking really good so far.
Yeah, honestly, this hand's almost perfect. I think we can go ahead and kick the King of Beggars. We don't need it this matchup, and we can take a shot to try to hit a gold card here. I go ahead and I get rid of a Monster Nest. Actually, go ahead and keep it. This hand's fine. Ideally, we'll get another Necker Warrior, and ideally you would have had maybe a Karan here to sink some of our power into that he can't interact with, but you really can't argue with a hand like this.
And he didn't get the best hand either.
Yeah, so that's great by us. We can go ahead and play our Necker here, and we're good with this. And then we want to Necker Warrior. We want to get that train going as soon as possible. After this, we can go ahead and play our Witchers to get that huge tempo swing out, and then from there, it just depends on what he goes ahead and does.
So Poison Doctor runs more of a weather deck right here.
Yeah, this one is also one of the cool things here is that because of the change to the dual weathers, he can't actually go ahead and hit both our front row and make Foglets, excuse me. So he has to kind of split his weather between a row that we don't care about or a counter in our row. So it's actually really good for us in this aspect, and it's one of the cool things about this matchup against Foglets and the weather control list. And then here, I think we're fine here playing the Witchers. If we had another Necker Warrior, we could have actually played a Monster Nest here, because at that point you have enough Neckers that you get to pull them for both the next round and round 3. If you don't have multiple Necker Warriors, though, it makes it a little bit hard to go ahead and justify playing that first round Monster Nest, because if they clear your minions, you're kind of a little bit dead then game 3. Now let's go ahead and do some math. If we put our old Spear Tip in the front row, we get to buff it we get to buff the front row by 5. He's an 8, so there's 13. We take off 9 damage off of his board as well, so we get a 22-point swing here, which actually puts us ahead of our opponent here. So this is part of what makes Old Spirit Tip so good as a card.
And not just that, it's almost as good as the triple silver right there.
Yeah, it's absurd. It gives you so much value in a deck like this, and it does so many things that you want out of your cards. One cool thing that I actually had happen to me, and one of the things that actually made me want to run Old Spirit Tip, was I was messing around with the weather deck myself, and someone Old Spirit Tipped in the middle row to kill my foglets. It then flips back, so if you try to fog again, it'll just flip back over and kill your foglets.
That is lovely.
Okay, so let's take a look here. We can Yennefer to minus the board. If we do that, he's going to lose 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. He'll lose 15 power to our 6. So we gain +9 there. Yennefer also gives us 4 and a 5, so we gain +14 on the board. Yennefer herself doesn't actually let us win this round, so we're actually not unhappy with just passing here. We're up a card, that's fine by us. We carry over a 7, which matches what he carries over, and then we have the Necker as well for next round, so we're actually pretty okay with this board.
Okay.
Again, if he wants to, he looks like he's a Foglet deck. He's already played his Ard, so front row then outside of blowing a weather on it. And the only way that he's going to get both Fog and the Frost is if he plays Ragnarok in his deck.
And he already has committed 2 goals into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually not. We lost that round, and Ard was kind of annoying there. We would have liked to carry over a Spirit Tip if we could, but we're actually not unhappy with how that round went. Now, the one thing that we do dislike here is we didn't get another Necker Warrior. We want to try to find one at some point this round if we can. We probably won't be able to because we need to save our first lights to stop weather. So we're going to take a little bit of a risk here. We have to Monster Nest at some point and hope he doesn't have a Lacerate for it.
Also, there might be a chance that he has Sabalok and we might get it from there.
Yeah, that would also be very good for us if he has it. So that's fine. We really don't care about that card, to be honest. So we just go ahead, we Monster Nest here. And try to just get our gravy train going. And then after this, we have both Ghoul and Catechin. Ghoul can give us a shot at going ahead and hitting the Foglet, and then Catechin can guarantee us to hit it if we really cared about that. I don't think that we're going to in this case, but it's an option for us if we ever wanted to.
Okay. Now, this is one of the parts where you actually have, once again, like a lot of options to save those Neckers right there. Like so many of them. Like I'm just seeing the consistency of your deck over and over again.
Yeah, and it's one of the really cool things here is that weather seems like it should be a counter to this deck in a lot of manners. You're row stacking really hard. You really don't play interaction for it or things like that. But we have Dig Gun, we have First Light, and because of the Necker's ability to buff themselves, we have a lot of other options. Also, in this case, both of our gold units buff our row by 2. He just showed there that he doesn't have a Lacerate, so we have to worry about that. Basically, he probably has a Wild Hunt Warrior in his hand, maybe 2 of them. So any kind of buff that we do here is great. I do kind of like the First Light here, though. We'd like to keep that front row as healthy as possible. And we basically, since we have a Ghoul and a Catechin in hand, we want to be able to play them and not have them go down to a 1. Since we have those, we're going to go ahead and we're going to First Light. If we didn't have them and we weren't really worried about that, if we had, say, a handful of Ekamars and a Kairan, we'd go ahead, we'd be fine with that Frost there, and we would just play those, and we play our Yennefer, we play our Zoltan, and we buff throw and not care about the Frost. So we have a ton of ways to deal with Frost and things that we just don't have to care about that other decks have to care about.
Mm-hmm. Let me take a pic of the graveyards right here. With all spear being the highest.
Yeah, Spirit Tips are highest. I think we're fine going here because there's a bunch of random things that are very high we won't mind hitting. And if we can snipe a Foglet off here, we're actually not that unhappy about it. Normally you don't want a 6-power Ghoul. In this case, it kind of cuts out his future power in multiple different rounds. So even then, it's not bad if it hits its worst thing. The worst thing here is, yeah, so we hit a Foglet.
There it is. But that is resource taken over time.
Yeah, basically it means that our Ghoul actually counted as an 8 there instead of as a 6. Now, in this situation, he's already played 1 Frost from hand, and he just used Dagon. I'd like to hold the Dagon for the 3rd round, and the reason for that is, again, if he plays Ragnarok, we want to be able to counter that in the 3rd round. We want to be able to stop him from basically trumping our entire strategy and getting back his Foglets. So in this case, I think Yennefer or Zoltan Animal Tamer are our best bets. Probably Zoltan Animal Tamer, Generally, why you want to lead with him is because it gives you an extra body for the Yennefer. However, the reason why we don't want to in this case is our goal, if our opponent passes here, right, we're guaranteed to go up 6 points off of the Yennefer, just on the board with our bronzes, plus Yennefer and the Unicorn. If he passes, we get to carry over a 10-point goal. It's an 8-point, but it basically counts as 10 because it ate that foglet already. So we get to carry over an 8-point body plus that investment. So we really want to carry that over if it's possible for us. So we're going to Yennefer first. Hopefully he passes at that point, and then we get to carry over a larger body. And again, we're just kind of playing from a position of we're very far ahead of our opponent, so we want to do the thing that maximizes our ability to be ahead of him and stay ahead of him, as well as minimize our risks.
And since he just got a buff, he might just try to say goodbye to it. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He has a 7-power Ancient Foglet, which is great for him to carry over. If he plays more minions, he risks not being able to carry something like that over to next round. If he blows more weather this round, he risks not having it next round as well. Okay, that's totally fine by us. What we can go ahead and do here is we can Zolt Animal Tamer. It's only going to leave a 1-power bird on the board, which could be a Wild Hunt Warrior target, but we're not really that unhappy with that. If he doesn't, we carry over the bird itself to next round, which is a 3-power body, and then we get all of our Necker triggers.
I thought this was activated as a neutral.
The weird thing with it is that it technically Zoltan reads that it's a spawn, and because it's a spawn, it shouldn't carry over. We don't know if it's a bug or if it's actually supposed to carry over yet. The devs haven't really made that clear to us yet, but I could see that happen in the future where that doesn't carry over to us. Okay. It is also kind of weird that it carries over the spy for your opponent when it shouldn't carry over spies with the monster passive. So it's a little bit weird, but in this case, we're totally fine with what it does. And now in this case, we know what the King of Beggars does. We know it's going to get us a ghoul this match. There's nothing else it can pull out.
For real this time. For real.
Yeah, for guaranteed this time. Now, again, what we want to do, though, we want to play the Monster Nest first, so that if he does frost us again, we're guaranteed to have a consume for it, and that we can go ahead and make them get out of that Wild Hunt Warrior range. And again, look where we are. We're up a card, basically. We're up a half a card on him, rather. We're 12 points ahead of him after that, and now we get to start making a lot more power. All of our plays are way more powerful because we have those 6 extra consume triggers that give us +6 to any consume that we make, and we have 3 consumes in our hand, basically.
That is pretty good, and he only has 12 strength on 3 cards, and he already used 2 goals. We are in a good position right now.
Exactly. Now, one thing that we will do this game that you don't normally want to do, and what I said earlier was that you want to kind of take an Ekamar, you want to carry its strength over to a different row. This is the one matchup where we're going to ignore that advice. And the reason for that, again, is if he plays Ragnarok, which is common, we can't clear 2 rows weather. We can only clear the one, so we're going to all in invest on a single row. So here I'd actually Katakin, eat an 8 if we can. Oh, no, not Ekamar. Yeah, Katakin, go ahead, eat an 8. There's an old Spirit Tip and a Crone. We actually want to eat the old Spirit Tip here in case he has Caretaker.
Yes, that's a good point, but I was running out of time.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Just it's one of those things that in the future it's not a terrible thing. Okay, he plays a 7. We're not upset with that. We can just go ahead. We can KOB here, pull out our ghoul, get another full board buff. Hopefully we hit about a 6. Should be the average in the graveyard. If we're lucky, we get an 8.
This old Spear Tip. Oh.
Okay, so he hit one of his Wild Hunt Warriors, it looks like. But again, we're fine with that. We basically just put 16 points out for a silver. Deal. Any day of the week we'll take that trade. And now again, we're going to finish this off. We're going to put the Ekamar in the front row, eating the King of Beggars. And now what does he do here? If he weathers it, we get to clear it. We're fine. If he Ragnaroks, he gets to pull back a little bit of strength. But again, we have all of our power concentrated in the one row. And there we go. That's why we put our Ekamar in the front row and we don't divide it like we would in other matchups.
And that's why you save also Dagon.
Exactly. It's basically your trump in this kind of a matchup. And it makes sure that no matter what happens, you have that final piece that your opponent can't beat. This is also part of why that pass in the first round was so integral to us winning this game, because we got the pass being a card up.
That is very, very true. That shows a lot of like self-restraint as a player and a lot of knowledge of the game as well.
Exactly. We could have committed 2 cards there, but if we committed those cards, we wouldn't have had them for the game. And it's also why, again, we took that one opportunity where instead of clearing the frost, we went ahead and we just dealt with it other ways. We didn't actually have to care about it in round 2 because we knew that if we saved Dagon for the very last round, we could counter that play specifically.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this deck with us. I'm really glad that you did. And is there any shoutouts that you would like to give?
Again, I'd like to give out a shout out just to the entire the high-end ladder community. Actually, they've all been really great. It's a great community of just great deck builders, great players, great people. And I really want to give a shout out to the Gwenelman team, and specifically the team that managed the Gwenelman Open. If anyone is thinking about doing tournaments, it's a great thing to do. It gives you a lot of experience, just both with Gwent and playing in a competitive setting, and you get to meet a lot of really cool players, and you get to play a lot of really good games.
Awesome. Well, there it is. Once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.